Denver came away with a hard-fought victory over Minnesota, powered by some efficient shooting and dominance on the glass. The Nuggets finished 46 of 88 from the field, a 52.3% clip, while the Timberwolves shot 47.1% on 40 of 85. Denver also excelled from downtown, hitting 13 of 26 three-pointers, good for 50% compared to Minnesota's 31.3 on 10 of 32. At the free throw line, Denver was automatic 22 of 25, while Minnesota went 24 of 29. The rebounding battle heavily favored Denver, 46 boards to 33, including 10 offensive rebounds. The extra effort on the glass gave Denver more second chance opportunities. Denver also racked up 24 assists, 5 steals, and 4 blocks. Minnesota had a strong defensive showing with 9 blocks and 8 steals, but turnovers proved costly. The Timberwolves committed 15 turnovers, leading to 24 points off turnovers, while Denver only gave up 6 in transition. Fast break points were fairly even, 10 for Denver, 8 for Minnesota, and both teams scored 56 points in the paint, showing they attacked the rim consistently. Fouls were close, 24 to 22, with Denver picking up a technical and a flagrant foul. Denver's efficient shooting, superior rebounding, and careful handling of turnovers were the difference in tonight's matchup. Minnesota kept it competitive, but the Nuggets' execution down the stretch made the difference. Nuggets 127, Timberwolves 114. Player of the game, Julius Randle, had 14 at the half, closed it out with a score of, Player of the game, Jamal Murray, 43 points, 16 for 29, 6 of 7 at the line. And with that, we welcome you to the Ryder Report. I am Ryder Bullock, coming to you from our beautiful Temecula studios. Lots to get to. We'll cover the AP Top 25. We'll have NFL Hot Topics with Albert Lanier. Plus, the World Series tied right now. Extra innings. We'll have a complete recap of all of that. But first, Week 8 in the NFL, and lots to get to on a busy sports weekend. And with that, we bring in the one, the only, Albert Lanier. Albert, so great to talk with you. Thank you for staying up late with us and all of that. Host of the Wise Guys Show. You can go to YouTube. You can check out all of that. And Albert, Week 8 of the NFL, what do you make of it?
Well, what I would say that if this was like a movie, I would call it Revenge of the Turds. You had the Jets winning. You had the Texans winning. You had Dolphins winning. So, yeah, I would say that this is Revenge of the Turds. The teams that are on the bottom or near the bottom managed to eke out victories. And so it was, I guess that they were no longer the turd man on the list.
Okay. Let's get to my questions. We'll start with Jonathan Taylor. He has now reached a point where the excellence feels almost routine. 4 3-touchdown games before midseason, 10 scores in 4 weeks, and in a league that seems to be chasing him in vain. But beyond the numbers, what we're seeing feels more like dominance with inavailability to it. Defenders not just missing tackles, but losing composure. So let me ask you, are we witnessing a hot stretch from a great player, or the emergence of one of the great running backs of our time? I think we're having audio troubles. Can you hear me?
I can indeed.
Okay, sorry. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Jonathan Taylor. Are we witnessing a hot stretch from him or a hot streak, or should we start penciling him in as one of the great running backs of a generation?
Well, I don't know about a generation, but certainly of this season. Jonathan Taylor's having a great year. If I'm not mistaken, he's still leading in rushing stats in the NFL. If he isn't, he's up there. Jonathan Taylor has been a good player, but now he's taking it to the next level this season. When you look at this Colts team, you got Daniel Jones, and who's throwing well, passing effectively, getting touchdowns, and working out as the QB1. And you got Jonathan Taylor. You got this
with the Indianapolis, but I think he's a breakout star for the NFL right now. And I think the question is going to be not just how successful he's going to be this season, but what might happen next season for him. Because with running backs, it's always tough. It's tough to be consistent and to have consistent seasons. And so right now, this guy is probably, I don't want to prognosticate here. I don't want to make definitive statements, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the rushing title if he continues at this pace. I believe he had 3 touchdowns in the game against the Titans, and so he was an NFL record, I think 3 TDs against the same opponent. So this guy, Jonathan Taylor, what I'm seeing with him is a level of consistency that's the hallmark of excellent running backs. And so I'm not surprised. I can't say whether he's going to be the running back of the generation. That's for the NFL historians to note or to choose, I guess.
Okay. To Saquon Barkley, he reminded everyone yesterday why he's one of the rare backs who can make a difference, looked outmatched before the ball is even snapped. That blend of vision, balance, and burst we hadn't really seen yet this season, and yet just as he seemed to be recapturing some of last year's magic, another injury crept in to cut the day short. So when Barkley's healthy, he looks like the beating heart of this Eagles offense. But given his injury history and Philadelphia's evolving identity with Jalen Hurts at the helm, is this still Saquon's offense, or is Jalen Hurts saying, it's mine now?
Well, I don't think it's been Saquon Barkley's offense this season because they haven't really depended on him in the way they did maybe previous season. He had a great game this Sunday. I mean, if you look at that touchdown he got for the first score for the Eagles, it was a beautiful slant hole, and he just went right through it like a train leaving the station, and headed out for over 60 yards, I believe, for a touchdown, opening up the first score for the Eagles. So, Barkley, this was a standout game for him, and I think it demonstrated the importance, like I said, with running backs. Barkley was already a good running back before he came to the Eagles. In fact, I can't understand why they let him go.
I can't either.
I believe the Giants.
I can't either.
I'm still trying to figure that one out. Because I knew this guy was going to be great once he went anywhere but the Giants.
Right.
And he was. He was really good last year with the Eagles.
And this year, I don't think he's had quite the season, but you look at that game
this past week, week 8, and it just demonstrates the vitality of Saquon Barkley as a running back
and the importance, I think, to this offense. You have to use his ability to rush effectively. I think in order to have a consistent offense. And that was what the Eagles had in this game. They had a consistent offense. This was the best offensive game, I think, along with the Buccaneers. These two were the best offensive games. They need to have more. They need to do more of this, right? Nothing against A.J. Brown at this point. They're demonstrating. Well, they didn't really need A.J. Brown. They could use him, but they didn't need him. But they do need Saquon Barkley. And Saquon Barkley demonstrated in the initial run for a touchdown and in his other runs in that game just how important and how vital he is to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay. Let's shift gears to Dallas. And what we saw in Denver felt less like a bad day and more like a troubling pattern. A defense once defined by swagger and speed, now gashed at will, and an offense that couldn't capitalize even in rare moments. It had a chance though to do some stuff. You have to wonder, after a loss like this, 44 points surrendered, little fight shown, is this simply a stumble on the road or a sign that the Cowboys' identity under Brian Scottmeyer is slipping away faster than anyone in Dallas wants to admit?
Well, the reality with Dallas is that they're in an odd year where you have a really potent, outstanding offense and a really impotent, ineffective, in fact, I would say sometimes near incompetent defense. And you can't win in the NFC if you don't have a defense that's not going to get you some 3 and outs. A defense that's not going to get you the ball. I mean, in this game against, but this defense has really, I call it the vacant lot defense in terms of backfield because there's no out there. So the reality is, with this defense, the best thing that I've suggested in regards to Dallas defense is blitz to a certain extent and get some kind of pass rush. Work your front four with this defense. That's the best that I can think of here. I'm not a defensive coordinator. You know, I'm not somebody who's coached DBs and coached, rushers and so forth. But at this point with Dallas, I don't think that backfield's going to be straightened out. I've given up on the backfield.
Okay.
I say that as a Dallas fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of 2 other teams. But I've given up. I've given up. I'm just like, look, get the front four going, get a couple turnovers if you can, and work on getting the ball. Work on interceptions. You had Deron Bland in, I think it was the game in Washington, and he had a pick 6. You got to work on turning the ball over, and work on the front four, getting a pass rush, and maybe going with a blitz. When all else fails, blitz. That's the best that Dallas can do at this point. When it comes to their season, I don't know what's going to happen right now. I'm looking at win here, lose there. Maybe they'll be even at some point. Maybe they'll barely get a winning season. Hard to say at this point because the defense just isn't allowing and providing opportunities for the offense to rest. The offense has to do all the work. They're ready to play. That defense doesn't seem ready to play. That may sound tough if some Dallas fans are watching this or listening to it. But, hey, I can't be that kind. I'm not looking to be cruel, but I can't be that kind.
Okay. Let's stay in Texas for just a moment. And talk about the Texans. The win over San Francisco, it felt something more than an upset. It was kind of like a glimpse into the future. I mean, C.J. Stroud's young, his receivers are young, and they're looking poised and fearless, and every one of them made the kind of play that makes you sit up and take notice. So for a franchise that's still learning how to win, is this the moment Houston officially turned the corner to rebuild a legitimate contender?
No, I don't think so. It's like what people are saying about Baltimore.
Yeah.
They can still win.
They were saying this when they're 1-5. I mean, look, I know the Steelers lost to Green Bay, but and Tyler Huntley had a good game, but you don't say a 1-5 team has a chance here. They're, I think, a 2-win team. The Texans are terrible. Nobody wants to say this for some reason. This is one of the most overrated teams in the NFL. They're a mediocre team. C.J. Stroud is a decent quarterback. It doesn't have a great offensive line. It doesn't have an outstanding offense. Offense is okay. And the defense is occasionally good. This is an overrated team. And when they get to the playoff, they can win a playoff game, but that's it. The real teams in the AFC show them who's the boss and who's the man. And it's not C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. The Texans historically have been a team that have managed to make it to the playoffs, but not much farther than that. I think they're an inflated. This is one of the problems. I hate to talk about this, but this is one of the problems I have with with a lot of sports media at times.
Yeah, is
they invest so much energy. It's like the host of Pardon the Interruption said on ESPN. You got people prognosticating about teams for not making pronouncements. Stop with the pronouncements. The Houston Texans are not a good team. They had a good victory against the 49ers, grant you. They played well. But you know what they say in the NFL? Oh, any given Sunday. I don't know if they say it in the NFL. They certainly said it in Oliver Stone's movie.
Right.
But that's what's believed about the NFL.
Yeah.
And so the Texans are a team. They had a good victory against the 49ers. You got to keep in mind, the 49ers had played well despite injuries. So at least the 49ers had the luxury of saying, look, most of our guys are banged up. We did our best, but, they're playing with injuries again this season. So how impressive is a victory of the Texans where you're beating the 49ers who managed to be successful this year even with their playmakers injured?
Right.
Who cares? The Texans are overrated. They're not the record is terrible. They're in the overrated category along with Baltimore Ravens. And I'd say the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
People think that team is the best team in the AFC. And what are they smoking? You need to get off. You need to put the bong down. I don't know what they're talking about. The Chiefs are getting back to being a good team. Yeah. But that's neither here nor there. And the Texans, they're not the Kansas City Chiefs. They at least know how to win Super Bowls and playoff games to get the Super Bowls. The Texans can maybe win one playoff team. The Texans are overrated.
Okay. Final question. Yesterday was tight ends day, and Tucker Kraft, his ability to out-muscle defenders, gain yards after the catch, and turn screens into scores has drawn national attention. So with Kelsey's decline and other tight ends sidelined, are you willing to go out on a limb and say Tucker Kraft is the best tight end in the league right now?
Would I say he's the best one right now? I'd say he's a really good one right now.
Okay.
He's performing well right now. The NFL, what it really stands for is not for long.
Not for long, right.
So you could be hot today, but you could be cold tomorrow. But he had a really good game.
and he's a good tight end. And I would say, in his regard, it was his day, literally.
Yeah.
Especially they earmarked for guys like him. And I would say, with someone like him, they need a guy like that on the Packers team, because their offense is going to have to find a way if they want to make it to the Super Bowl. And who am I kidding? I don't think the Packers are going to make it to the Super Bowl. Yeah, there I said it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to make pronouncements. I don't normally do it, but what the hell? Yeah, the Packers are not going to make it to the Super Bowl. They may make it to the playoffs. I don't know why I said it that way. It sounded like Jim Mora during that press conference. Playoffs?
Yeah.
Playoffs?
Yeah.
In fact, that's what I think about. No, the Packers will make it to the playoffs, but how far they go after that, I have no idea. But he's a good tight end. They had a good game against the Steelers, and probably more to come. I think he'll probably be a very important asset on that team.
Okay. Where do we go to listen to the Wise Guy show?
You can go to YouTube on my official channel, Ryder Albert Lanier 3434, or should I say at Ryder Albert Lanier 3434. That's Ryder Albert Lanier channel on YouTube to listen to the Wise Guy show. I'm not a wise guy, but for all intents and purposes on YouTube, I am on that show. That's my legal disclaimer.
Okay. He is Albert Lanier, ladies and gentlemen. We always enjoy seeing him. We'll look forward to seeing you next week for week 9 of the NFL, if you can believe that. And so always a pleasure. Take care.
See you later. See you later.
And welcome. Stay with us for just a minute. Oh, my camera went away. There we go. Always great to have Albert Lanier with you, and or with us rather. And let's talk college football. And listen, this one, for once, the top of the AP poll didn't blow up like a firecracker. The top 6 unchanged. Ohio State still sitting pretty at 1, and Indiana is at number 2, if you can believe that. And they looked really good against UCLA. I thought the Bruins was going to give them some trouble, but they picked up 6 more first-place votes this week. Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, that's your top 6, same as it ever was. But you start looking further down that list, and that's where things start to shake a little bit. The Big 12, folks, they're back in the mix. 5 teams in the poll, first time all season. BYU leads the charge at number 10, tied with Miami. Then you got Texas Tech at 13, Cincinnati 17, Houston 22, and Utah sneaking in at 24. Not bad for a conference everyone said was slipping. And let me tell you the story of the week. Vanderbilt. Yes, I said Vanderbilt. Stop laughing. They're sitting at 9. Their highest ranking in 88 years. They beat Missouri 17-10. That's their third win this season against a ranked opponent. That's not luck. That's legitimacy. Meanwhile, LSU, once sitting as high as number 3 this season, gone out of the poll. They lose to Texas A&M, and that's it. The curtain drops. Oh, and a little flip-flop in the middle. Ole Miss and Georgia Tech swapped. Rebels up to 7, Jackets down to 8. So to recap, the top 6 hold steady. Vandy climbs in to rare air. LSU tumbles out, and the Big 12 suddenly looks like a crowd at the door of the top 25 party. College football chaos never sleeps, folks. It just takes a week off, and now, and then, and you get back to it. But anyway, let's talk playoff picture. We've got this week's mock bracket for the college football playoff, and for once, the committee's pretend crystal ball actually makes a little bit of sense. Let's start right at the top. The 4 first-round buys. Number 1, Ohio State, the Big Ten champs. Still rolling like a freight train. Number 2, Indiana. Yes, they're still holding strong, keeping the Big Ten looking like the sports power conference right now. Number 3, Alabama. They're number 1 in the SEC, so we'll say they're the SEC champs for now. Doing what they do. Steady, dangerous, disciplined. And number 4, Texas A&M, rounding out the bye group. Quietly putting together a playoff resume that's hard to ignore. Now, here's where it gets fun. The first round games played on campus, December 19th and 20th. Picture this: cold weather, wild crowds, everything's on the line. Number 12, Memphis, the American champ, hypothetically, goes between the hedges to face number 5, Georgia. Good luck with that one. Number 11, Georgia Tech, heads to Oxford to take on number 6, Ole Miss. That's going to be points, and more points. Number 10, BYU, the hypothetical Big 12 champ, takes on number 7, Miami, the ACC champ. 2 proud programs, 2 fan bases that think they're back. We'll find out. And how about number 9, Vanderbilt? Yeah, heading to Eugene to play number 8, Oregon. That's the Cinderella matchup. Then we hit the quarterfinals, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, the Cotton, Orange, Rose, and Sugar Bowls. Here's how it shake out. Georgia-Memphis winner. They would play A&M. Okay, the Ole Miss Georgia Tech winner would play Alabama. The BYU Miami winner would play Indiana. The winner of Vanderbilt and Oregon would play Ohio State. And tell you what, if this bracket holds, that Vanderbilt-Oregon game could be the sleeper hit of the season. And that Ole Miss-Bama potential rematch, that's fireworks. We're still weeks away from any of this being real. But right now, this playoff picture tells you one thing. The Big Ten's running the show. The SEC's still dangerous. And college football's middle class is finally crashing the party. All right, let's get to the big story. The bombshell out of Baton Rouge. Brian Kelly out at LSU. When this guy came down from South Bend in 2022, the world was on fire. And this was going to be a home run hire. You remember it. Big splash, big personality, big paycheck. Well, fast forward to now, and that bat never connected. Kelly's gone after a 5-3 start and a 2-3 mark in SEC play, capped off by a 49-25 beatdown from Texas A&M. That's 3 losses in their last 4, and fans in Tiger Stadium chanting "Fire Kelly" before halftime. That tells you everything. Offensively, it was a mess. This team has cracked 26 points once all season, and that was against an FCS team, Southern Louisiana. Garrett Neumeyer, the supposed Heisman hopeful, hasn't looked the part. You could see it coming week after week. The offense just never had a pulse. Now, let's talk some money, because this is where it gets wild, right? We talk about this every week. LSU owes Kelly around $54 million in a buyout. You heard me right. $54 million. That is right behind Jimbo Fisher's Texas A&M deal as one of the priciest exits in college football history. It beats James Franklin's deal that just happened a week or so ago. So, here's how it breaks. Okay, Kelly's owed 90% of his remaining base salary and supplemental pay. He had a longevity bonus built in, prorated, paid out through 2026. The deal was supposed to run through 2031 with annual raises backed, and he was set to make $10.175 million next season, eighth among all college coaches. Now he's got a duty to, mitigate clause, meaning he's got to pursue another job while collecting checks from LSU. That's basically what Franklin's doing over at Penn State. But let's be honest, he's not hurting for cash. At the end of the day, this was a cultural mismatch from the jump. Kelly never fit in Baton Rouge. The accent, the attitude, the offense, none of it clicked. LSU tried to buy another national title, and now they're paying for it dearly. So Brian Kelly's tenure at LSU ends with a whimper, not a roar. And for the Tigers, the search begins again. To horse racing and the Breeders' Cup Classic, which is set for Saturday, November 1st at Del Mar in San Diego, California, the Super Bowl of the sport. Now listen, I've seen a lot of fields over the years. And this one's got a little 1998 to it. You remember that one? Awesome Again, Skip Away, Silver Charm, Victory Gallop, monsters all over them. That's what we got shaping up here. They've made Sovereignty, the Derby, Belmont, and Travers winner 6-5 on the morning line. That's a short price, folks. You're talking about a horse that's done everything right since the spring. Junior Alvarado rides for Belmont, post 6. He's going to sit that perfect stalking trip. The horse has tactical speed, finishes with power. He's the best 3-year-old we've seen since maybe American Pharaoh. You can't knock him. Now the defending champ, Sierra Leone, 8-1. That's value. But here's the thing. He's not the same horse from last fall. He's been fine, but not dominant. He won the Whitney, sure, but hasn't scared anybody since Chad Brown's putting in that rabbit, contrary thinking, to make sure there's pace, and that tells me they know he needs help. Then you got Fierceness, post 1, 4-1 odds. Todd Pletcher's horse, Johnny V aboard. Tremendous talent, but here's my concern. The rail. This horse nearly jumped the temporary fences in the Pacific Classic. You put him on the rail again, that's dangerous. You need a clean break. Otherwise, you're eating dirt all the way around Del Mar. Forever Young, the Japanese horse, he's interesting. He's been all over. Saudi Cup, Dubai, back to Japan, now back to the States. He's got the stamina, he's got the class, and he's drawn beautifully in post 5. If anyone's going to upset Sovereignty, it might be him. And by the way, Bob Baffert's got one in here as well. Nevada Beach, 20-1 with Mike Smith. Don't laugh. When Baffert's in the Classic, you never throw his horse out, especially with Mike Smith on board. He's won this thing 4 times. So if you're betting it, here's how I'd play it. Win Sovereignty. Too good right now. He's the best horse in America. Exacta box. Sovereignty. Forever Young. Fierceness. Long shot to hit the board. Mind Frame. Irod Ortiz lost him at the start last time. Otherwise, he's undefeated this year. This is going to be a classic. Maybe one for the ages. I'll tell you, you get a clean track, good weather in San Diego, Del Mar, beautiful facility. We could be talking about Sovereignty stamping himself as the next all-time great. World Series still tied at 5, bottom of the 12th. In Game 3, the series is tied at 1 apiece. NBA scores for you today are as follows. Cavaliers 116, Pistons 95, Sixers 136, Magic 124, Bulls 128, Hawks 123, Rockets 137, Nets 109, Celtics 122, Pelicans 90, Raptors 121, Spurs 121, Raptors 103, Thunder 101, Mavericks 94, Jazz 138, Suns 134, Nuggets 127, Timberwolves 114, Warriors 131, Grizzlies 118. In the NFL, Monday Night Football in Kansas City, Chiefs win it 28-7. Mahomes, Hunt led Chiefs to a dominant 28-7 win over the Commanders, their 9th straight in the series. That's what's trending in sports. There's no final thought for tonight, so we'll end it short. This has been the Ryder Report. Till next time, take care of yourself and each other. Thank you.